finished this book last night, and I wanted to read my favorite passage. So, Nancy Pelosi, wearing a kente cloth, did I pronounce that right? Kente cloth, is an insult to all people of African descent. It's cultural appropriation at its worst. Why do black people allow Nancy Pelosi, Jim Clyburn, and the Democrats to insult us like that? Thanks a lot, Nancy, you old hag. So Berney's book is available after he's speaking, maybe when we hear from all of the other people afterwards. Berney, you can go up to Berney and get a book. He's graciously agreed to sign them, and they're $20 a piece. So I'm going to read you this very short bio. There's a lot of surprises about Berney. Berney Flowers ran for U.S. Congress in Maryland's 2nd District. I had to look that up. It's parts of Carroll and Baltimore counties and parts of the city of Baltimore. Is that correct? He was assigned to the U.S. Air Force's Air Staff as the Pentagon was attacked on September 11, 2001. He retired from U.S. Air Force after nearly 21 years of active duty, having deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, Ukraine, and visiting 22 countries and 43 states in the performance of his duties. After his Air Force retirement, Berney worked as a project manager in the banking industry. In 2009, he returned to DoD as a civil servant, where he was part of U.S. Cybercom's initial staff. He later served as NORAD and U.S. Northcom Senior Technical Advisor at Fort Meade. Before retiring from DoD, he participated in refugee resettlement efforts for Afghans, Haitians, and undocumented migrants in defense of the U.S. Southwest border. He's very accomplished here. In 2021, Maryland's governor appointed him to the District 9 Judicial Nominating Commission in Howard County, Maryland. And he recently authored the new book, Black Values Matter. So, and it's right here. So, let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hey, Berney. Hi. You guys, it's so nice to have you all here. When I started my campaign, I was over there speaking. One of my first speaking engagements. And I met a lot of you on the campaign trail. It's too bad we didn't win, but that's okay. Nobody knew who I was. I got a book here, and we're going to talk about that. Thank you for having me. And several of you I speak to on a regular basis. Me and Frank are email buddies. And a lot of the stuff that I learned from running came from him, because we met at this, what do they call those guys? There you go. And I was just trying to learn everything I could. So I met Frank, and next thing you know, he's like, do this, do this, do this, and do this. And I actually did it. And we got a lot of votes. Now, why did I not win? There's a lot of reasons. A black guy who's a conservative is an oddity, and people probably were thinking like, who is this dude? Oh, by the way, baby, how much time I got?
As long as you got their attention, go for it. Okay, we will cut you off after a while. But.
Well, with that said, I started out in Howard County. But why did I run? Vicki kind of alluded to some of the things in my background that are a little bit different. Are there any reporters in this group? Because that affects what I may say to you. So with that said, I'm sitting here at DHS in their command post, down at the bottom, in the basement where most people don't get a chance to go. Mariella knows what I'm talking about. And I'm sitting there, and they're doing the Afghan retrograde back in 2021, in the fall. And I've been to Afghanistan. Some of those places that I saw on television kind of gave me a reaction. My head was buzzing like a soldier. Nobody saw it, nobody noticed. But I realized that I was on the wrong side of the fence. And that's when I decided it was time to do something about it. So I kept on, and then after that, the Afghan refugee thing happened. We were bringing all those people home. I don't know if you knew that we brought home, at my count, 79,000 Afghan refugees at $1,400 a pop of your money. And a few weeks ago, I got an award in the mail from DHS, signed by Secretary Mayorkas. Another story. I franked it. Because there's many times that man used to walk in my office. My office was like 3 doors down from him, literally 3 doors, like 30 feet. And he walks in, he used to walk by and, hey Berney, let's go get some coffee. I was the DOD guy feeding his ego and his money. So that's why I'm so angry. But anyway, back to that thing. $1,400 a day times 79,000 people is somewhere about $110 million a day unbudgeted. But the problem with that is I was wrong. When we got done, it turned out to be 85,000 Afghans at $1,400 a day, which turned out to be $119 million a day of your money. And I'm sitting here as a steward of the government's money, and I'm just like, I can't take this anymore. And when the secretary used to come by my office, and I was sitting there thinking about my combat knife, and I was thinking I could do somebody a favor. But I didn't. Still got it at combat. So I know how to use it. But that's another story for another time. So on the 18th of January, I retired from the federal government officially. That was 2022. And on the 19th of January, I marched my happy self over to Annapolis and signed up to run for Congress. And my big problem was Dutch Williamsburg, because I've been on K Street. You guys familiar with K Street? That's where all the money changes happen. And he used to be a good guy, but he's not anymore. And I realized that I needed to do something about it, even if it was just me. So I ran for Congress, and of all things, how often does redistricting happen in Maryland, Robert?
Once every 10 years.
There you go. Guess who happened to get redistricted? So that's how a guy from Howard County was running in Anne Arundel County after one guy and ended up in Carroll County. So it's all good. I met a lot of cool people. I learned a whole lot of things like Vegeta. And oh, by the way, let me tell you this story about Vegeta. So here we are doing this MDGOP thing. You guys don't know, we tried to take over the MDGOP. We had a slate. And did anybody go to the convention? Did you see Dirk here acting an ass? Here's the problem. And I'm off script. I got a script, but I never use it anyway. We're not going to win anything unless we learn how to get along. We got people filing lawsuits against each other. I'm not just talking about in one place. I'm talking about multiple lawsuits. So the people that we want to vote for us they just look like the Hatfields and the Fords. And they don't want a part of this show that we are putting on. And that is why we're having trouble, at least in Howard County and Anne Arundel County and Carroll County and Baltimore City and PG County. That is why we can't recruit people who need to vote for us. And we're going to have to get them to vote for us. Because I remember the stat, the Democrats are 55% of the electorate. We are about 31%, and there's about 14% of the electorate that is independent. So, with that said, even if we got all the independents, we'd still lose. We got to get some Democrats to vote for us. And if we're over here suing each other and calling each other everything but a child of God, we're not going to get there. So that's why I'm here. I'm going to try my best to recruit some minorities to our side. I don't know if I'm going to run again. We'll see. Maybe if I can raise enough money with this book, maybe I will. And that's another story. But I'm supposed to be talking about this book, right? I'm going to read a quote for you. And this is from the book. Blacks are among the most conservative ethnic groups in America. Somebody needs to tell them that, because as a group, we aren't voting like it. Most blacks that I know are concerned with basic common sense issues like crime, inflation, the economy, taxes, vaccinations, among other things. Most blacks I know want equal opportunity, not equal outcomes. Republicans are interested in basic common sense issues, while progressive Democrats concern themselves with trending social issues. The Democrat Party treats black Americans as voiceless, reliable, generational support. The Republican Party is not much better in this treatment of blacks, offering few viable alternatives to progressive Democrat policies. Liberal policies sound great in political campaigns, but after several decades of unbroken support, what has the greater black community received in exchange for decades of undying reinforcement of progressive causes? Maybe it's time for an audit of our one-sided political support. I offer that America's black civil rights movement has been conflated and neutered through the association with issues of supposedly oppressed minorities. My essay is an attempt to help black voters understand that in the end, black values matter. That's what you'll read in that book, if you buy it. You ever heard of Thomas Sowell, Dr. Thomas Sowell? Yes. You know what he said? Now, you know he's an economics professor, emeritus at Stanford. Smart guy. He also used to be in the Marine Corps teaching people how to use weapons. You know his story. He says that we can get 20% of the black vote. The Democrats would be brutal. I believe him. And I'm going to try to make that happen, whether I win or run or not. I'm tired of losing. There's people in our communities, in the mosques and in the synagogues, that are looking at us to lead. We got to go get them. They're looking at us to come to them. But if we keep beating each other about the head and shoulders like Barney Rubble and Fred Flintstone, then they're going to look at us like a bunch of fools. We got to curtail our baser instincts, you might say. But anyway, I'm getting off script. We got to start winning. But anyway, I'm supposed to be talking about this book, but I can't seem to get there. Ben Carter, you know that he's not gonna run again after 100 years. And there's somebody in this room that's trying to replace him. Think about that. We got an opportunity to set a beachhead in Maryland. Because right now we got nothing. Imagine if you're Marines back in World War II and you're trying to establish a beachhead so that you can bring your further forces in. That's where we are. We got nothing right now. And we got to get something. We got to get somebody in that seat. I'm not going to mention his name, but I'm pointing at him. We got to get a beachhead. We got to get some of these directors. We got to get some wins. And that's kind of why I'm here. You guys like drag queen storytelling? No. How about the fact that we owe, almost $32 trillion in our national debt, and they're fighting over that right now in Congress, and we got hardly anybody fighting for us. That's $92,700 per citizen. Okay, my granddaughter is turning 2 next month on the 3rd, and she owes $92,700. That's not cool. And we have to do something about that. And that is one of the big reasons that I left my cushy federal job. My wife is mad at me right now. Why don't you go away and all that money? Are you crazy? I had a basically bulletproof job where I was at the senior levels. I got to go to all these, deep underground bases. Let's not talk about that. Anyway, bottom line, I walked away. The reason I walked away is because we're going in the wrong direction. What's Reagan's 11th commandment? Anybody know? Thou shalt talk not bad about Republicans or fellow Republicans. I got the quote all messed up, and I got it written down here, but I'd rather say it my own way. But the bottom line is Democrats treat the black community as generational support. And not just the black community, the minority community. I applaud you guys because you guys are deep in the heart of liberalism in this state. You're fighting a good fight. When I was talking to Rashida a while back ago, we had our little clandestine underground thing. We met every Sunday on my Zoom call, and we were plotting and planning to fix these things. And I don't want to talk bad about the MDGOP because they're wonderful people, but we got to get some wins. We got to get some good candidates, some people with some military backgrounds. Ariel. Some people with some PhDs, some people that are energetic like Robin, and some fighters like Sully. We got to get out there, and this is all about us coming together to protect us from drag queen story time, from high taxes, from the craziness that I see. I'll get there. But the thing is that he was concerned because his little girl is beyond smart. This chick is, no offense, she is like off the chain smart. And he's concerned because the guidance counselor in her little 5th grade class, 5th grade, pulls her and a few other kids into her office every week and paints their nails and gives them candy and is grooming them. And my friend is concerned about that. And I'm concerned about it too. The question of the day is, we, defenders of the family, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do? And we're hanging on a thread. It's us. This fight has come to us. I walked away from a gang of money because I saw what was happening. And if we keep this going, when the government and private industry, as in Silicon Valley, are aligning against us, it's fascism. And people need to recognize it. And you need to shout to the rafters, because if they'll take them down, they'll take us down. So with that said, have you noticed this whole Bud Light thing? You got this thing advertising for them, and now nobody's buying Bud Light anymore. There's a lot of other things. Look at Netflix. They're losing money. Disney stock is going down. There used to be a time when I had my children, I was sitting in front of the TV, or my wife would, and we would watch TV and know that they were watching Disney and know that they weren't being indoctrinated.
That's right.
Can you do that, Mariel? You got small children. No. They have been gradually and casually indoctrinating our children, and it is not going to work for us. It's not working for us at all. They can't beat us militarily, so they're going to do what's called information operations. Why do I know this? Because I used to do that for the government. I know what I'm up against, and that's why I asked if there were any reporters in here. So with that said, I'm supposed to be on the script. That book over there is Berney's Rant. Black people, I look at Sully, I look at me, I'm not a thug. I fought for this country, literally bled for this country. I'm just as patriotic as anybody. And for BET and the mainstream media to present black people as thugs and ne'er-do-wells is a misrepresentation. And there's a lot of people that are minorities that are very, 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 very conservative. And with that said, we got to get those conservatives to understand that we're fighting for them. Renzo, for example, I go to the Hoco Brew Club every once in a while because that's where the Republican YRs hang out. And hang out with them. And guess who's there pretty much 9 times out of 10? Renzo. He feels the same way that I do. We got to fight the fight. And the bottom line is, if we keep on this path that we're on, there's not going to be any money, there's not going to be any resource, there's not going to be any America for Renzo and his generation. We got ours, but we owe a debt to those coming up behind us to make sure they get theirs. They're coming after this country. They're already here. And I just felt like what I was doing after 34 years behind the fence and what I'd seen wasn't enough. So that's why you see me writing this book. and doing the things I'm doing. So again, where am I? Why should Maryland conservatives concern themselves with black values? Because black values are American values. We're talking about upward mobility. Don't you guys believe in that? We're talking about lower crime. Don't you believe in that? We're talking about the traditional family. Well, we all believe in the same thing, but somebody's got to lead. And that leadership is going to have to come from you if we're going to get this done. So, let's see. What else am I going to say here that on the script that I keep forgetting? I appreciate you all letting me come here and rant a little bit because I've seen a lot of things. And I don't like the way the country's going. I don't like the way this leadership is going. And, you know, Joe Biden, that man signed the 1994 crime bill. Are you familiar? Joe Biden wrote the 1994 crime bill. And he put more black men in prison than Tarzan. And so I got a problem with him. And how did he possibly win an election when he never left his house? So there's a lot of us that are involved in election integrity, you know, getting out there, making sure that the voting rolls. That's the most important thing. It doesn't matter who votes. What really matters, and Stalin said this, is who counts the votes. And so we've been had the okey doke for a long time. We got to get involved. We got to get engaged in the nitty-gritty portion of dealing with counting votes. And yeah, it's tough. But if you're not planning on running for anything, and if you got some free time on your hands, get involved in that election integrity project because it's going to make a big difference. Did anybody see Trump's speech on CNN?
Yeah, awesome.
I liked it too. I watched it about 3 times. You throw that poor little girl up. But anyway, that's what we need. That's a win. And we've got some momentum now. And I'm not a big Trump supporter. But as long as he keeps saying what needs to come out of my mouth, he's our guy. And we got to get behind this. And this idea, I don't like the way he speaks. He's the leader. You know, here's the thing. I'm going to get on this speech. Having gone to several combat zones, what you want is a general that will lead you and be in front. Am I right, Mariella? No offense, I'm getting ready to say some curse words. Anybody got a problem with that? Oh, stop it. And you, okay. I know Frank doesn't like cussing. Here's the deal. That general that's in front of you, you don't need him to be a nice man. Your job is to follow him. His job is to bring him back home with no scratches, no dents, no blood being sprayed, unless it's a bad guy. So nice people aren't, no offense, Frank, aren't designed to go do mean, nasty things that keep democracy alive. Trump is that guy. I would go to the desert with him today because I know he would take a bullet for me and I would take a bullet for him. But there are certain people in our leadership, like, Billy, I wouldn't follow that guy to the bathroom. So, bottom line is, Trump is our best choice unless DeSantis has some miraculous whatever. I'd like to see Trump and DeSantis run together. That would be a killer ticket. But we got a little ways to go, and you don't know what's going to happen. But whatever happens, when we do have a nominee, whether it's in the Senate or in Congress or at the state level, get behind it. Because if we're divided, we got no chance of winning. And next thing you know, here comes some 300-pound man dressed up like a woman trying to talk to your kids. And that is not cool. That's where I draw the line. By the way, why would a 300-pound man dressed up like a woman want to talk to your kids? I didn't say that. Just like my friend, why would a guidance counselor, I shouldn't say that because that shouldn't be talking about him, but I said it anyway. Why would a guidance counselor want to talk to his 8-year-old kid? She's a smart girl and she really, she leads her class. They're picking out the leaders. They've already identified her as a leader. and they want to indoctrinate her. So 20 years from now, she'll be leading their cause instead of yours. That is information operations in a nutshell. So, with that said, you know, I am never going to get to this book. Look, it's over there. I think I read to you the basics of the book. I really feel that everything I said in there was the God's honest truth. Black people, a lot of them are just as conservative as you are. We're church-going people. But the issue of the day is they're not going to follow you if you don't lead. And if we're out here filing lawsuits against each other and acting a fool, then that's not leadership. We got to hold ourselves accountable. We got to lead. We got to walk the walk and talk the talk. And that's what I'm trying to do. So, with that said, do we have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Are you taking credit cards?
No credit cards,
Just
but,
checks or cash?
well, here's the thing. There's a QR code here.
Yeah.
This will take you straight to Amazon, but I don't even like Jeff Bezos.
Okay.
If you want to take a book, and I know you'll get it to me later. So I know you're good for it.
I was thinking about the club if we could find one.
Well, I appreciate that. What other questions do we have? Robin?
Okay. China is our biggest adversary. How do we deal with them?
Stop doing business with them. You go to Walmart, just about everything there is made in China. But our politicians are saying, oh yeah, they're our adversary. Look, Taiwan is about 70 miles away from the Chinese mainland. I don't care what you do, we can't defend them. We just flat out can't. I can tell you some other stories about why we can't, but I don't care. The issue of the day is we can't come from this far away, even though we're in Guam and all over the Pacific. It would be a bloodbath. And so my deal is we have no need to do any business with China. We can make everything we need right here. And if I may steal some of your thunder, because I know where you're going, we got a 400-year supply of oil in this country. Why are we going electric? Your governor has signed a bill that says by 2025, all cars will be electric. We got one lithium mine in the whole United States. It's in Nevada. We produce 1% of the lithium in the entire United States. So how are we going to do electric cars? They get lithium from Congo, Afghanistan, and a couple other places. So that puts us right in the business of being in war. Have perpetual war, and nobody hates war more than a soldier. Did I answer your question? Thank you, sir. What else we got? Okay, guys. I'm gonna chill. I know I was supposed to talk about this book. Oh, I'm sorry, you got a question, man?
I had not had a question, but I have a comment. I have a friend who actually, she's working in an optical store now for office.
Yes, ma'am.
She's an ophthalmologist. And she said, and it's in Tacoma Point City School. She said, the most conservative people she sees, and she really likes to see them, are young black men.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of young black men that are being left out of the economic change, and they're angry. I see them all the time. Matter of fact, Wednesday I had dinner with a preacher from Baltimore, and he's a Democrat. And he wants to be able to find some way to employ these young folks. Now, one of the things that I'm proud of is through my campaign, last year, I met the chief of the president of the plumbers union. They can't find enough people to work. But yet, all these kids are going off to college and majoring in electric basket weaving, and then coming out with loans up the yin yang, and they're angry. We need to target those young black men, and I think I can help with that. Did I answer your question?
White children are not getting into trades.
There you go. Sir,
How do you like Candace Owens?
I'm a member of Blessed. Everything she says is golden to me. She's my girl.
Any other questions for Berney? Oh, Jackie?
What do you think about Ukraine, that whole situation?
You ain't gonna like what I had to say. But I'm gonna tell you, this might take a minute. I'm sweating. I'm so glad there's no reporter in here. In 2003, I went to the Ukraine. The exercise was called Partnership for Peace. But I was the only black man in the whole country. I was the only American within 1,000 miles. And I was over there representing DOD. And before I left Texas, Security Hill, where all these intel people are in the Air Force, I got a briefing about the Ukraine. And they told us that it was the most corrupt place in Europe. That whatever I was dealing with, to include the military, you're talking to the Russian mafia, straight up. So when people say that, we should send all these bombs and stuff to the Ukraine, well, remember, Russia has nuclear weapons. The eastern side of the Ukraine is all Russian speakers. They are ethnic Russians. The western side is Ukrainian. And we got all excited and the media got us all hyped up for this fight. But there's a whole lot of loose nuclear weapons running around Russia, and their control structure is not even close to ours. So don't start a fight with somebody that you're not sure you can beat. That's an old country saying. So, we could go over there. I mean, you got any kids? You got a son? Daughter? Would you be willing to send your daughter over to fight for those people and give up blood? No. Okay. Here's what I would do if somebody invaded my country. And what we're doing is inviting further conflict. And people are benefiting from that conflict. I've seen it. So with that said, we should be defending our own homeland. When I left, there was 3,000 people coming across the border, in the South Texas border, every night. Now, there's 10,000. Title 42, familiar? I just talked to my buddy down in Texas. I'm not gonna mention his name. He's retired, he's a retired Army colonel. But he's been involved in that Southwest border protection thing because they consider him to be a senior advisor. He said there's 1 million people down there. I can't verify it, but I went to war with this gentleman and I know he doesn't lie. He was cut off with the right arm before he told me a lie. And the issue today is one of the problems with the black community, and I'm gonna tie this in, is whose jobs are those people gonna take? They're not gonna take yours. They're not gonna take Sully's. They're gonna take the jobs of the lower echelon. That means the black community. So the black community is actually fighting and protecting to have their jobs taken away. So with that said, back to the Southwest border, it's a mess. It is a true mess, and we need to get somebody in there, hopefully President Trump, to stop it. Because when he was there was not much of a problem. He was building a wall. Joe Biden's got a wall around his house. Why can't we have one? So there's a whole lot of stuff that I've seen that I'm not happy with. But, one of these days I'm gonna talk about this book. Sir,
How do you get young people involved in politics?
well, you're here. You're young.
That's true.
Well, you should tell me. I'll do it.
Put it on the spot here. I got involved just because I care about the country.
Amen.
And I found out that there were counterparties in being involved with the campaign.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get involved in my county. But it's like, I don't think anyone really knows that there are county parties. It's not just the RNC or that there are county clubs. That's,
It's funny. I didn't know either. I was in, how did I get into this? So I'm over in Fort Meade, and I used to go out to Colorado every three months. And I met this guy, Reed Novotny. I don't know if you guys know him, but he ran for state delegate. And Reed at the time was he just made brigadier general in the reserves, but me and him hit it off. And I'm like, dude, where are the Republicans? I've been looking for them for 15 years. We are so quiet, especially in Howard County, that I didn't know they were there. So Reed sent me off to find Ray Serrano, and next thing you know, I'm running for Congress. But the bottom line is we don't do a good job of advertising ourselves. And that's again why this book's here.
Okay, so if you want to reach the younger people, particularly younger black men, what medium are you using? Podcasts and that
started a brand new podcast. I just put out my 5th episode. It drops on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock. I call it the Loyal Opposition Podcast. And I have, I talk about issues that I think are important. And you know what I want to talk about on Wednesday? Reparations. I'm going to piss off a lot of black people. But yeah, that's the thing. That's what they're listening to. And as I said before, this preacher that I'm trying to work with, I'm not going to throw his name out there, but we have a mutual desire to help the black community. And Baltimore is a hot mess, and we've got to get somebody in the Senate or at the congressional level to walk into the mayor's office and say, no offense, Frank, cut the shit. Bottom line.
What's the name of your podcast?
The Loyal Opposition Podcast.
The Loyal.
Yes, you can find it. I do most of the talking, but I interviewed Latoya Congallo. She's a mental health worker over in Anne Arundel County. Really, really smart lady, owns her own business. I recommend you check it out. And you can find it on my website. You can find it on YouTube. Just type in Berney Flowers, P-E-R-N-E-Y, not I-E, because I-E is Bernie Sanders. But type in my name and it'll probably pop up. And it's on BitChute and a whole lot of other stuff. Ma'am?
I just want to agree with you. When I go out in the world, I donate blood. My phlebotomist, a young black guy from Jamaica, talking to him, man, just sounds so, I started talking politics with him around the edges, and I'm like, I think that black men are so pissed off.
Yep, they sure are. Look at this one.
It's tough to be a white man, and it's tough.
Go ahead.
And I think black women have stolen the microphone, and they're
Well, here's
and
the
they're
thing.
insignificant.
Well, you're getting ready to get me in trouble. This is being recorded. If I say something, my
But anyway,
God.
I was just really surprised. And within a week, I was wearing, I had a stop woke indoctrination sticker on I went to an event and I had that on my purse. And I went to a store up in Frederick and I forgot it was on there. And this guy comes over and it's a young black man at the store and it's a pretty much Democrats everywhere in place. And he's like, love your sticker. And I'm like, oh wow, like fist bump. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind.
Believe it, there is an undercurrent of young black men and men period, that are being left out. They're traditional, and nobody's watching their back. Nobody's standing up for them, and I will. Nobody else won't. And if I may, my granddaughter is multiracial. Her daddy is European Spanish. So when somebody insults white people, they're insulting me. And we're gonna have us a problem. We should be, don't you guys remember when we were kids and we talked about the great melting pot? How come nobody's talking about that anymore? And here's the bottom line. This is fascism. And you see it, and I see it, and we gotta get everybody else to see it, because the bottom line is you turn on the TV, you turn on Twitter, you turn on social media, and they're dividing us. And that's what this whole Bud Light thing was about.
It's just tough at home. I got kids that are just not gonna let you can't talk about that mom and dad around me, and it's stuff
Exactly.
like
They're
that.
indoctrinating our children. They're going
Yes.
straight at them. And that's what I was talking about with my friend. He is really worried. I'm really worried because his kids are wonderful. I babysit them sometimes. And they're great kids. And it's not just them, it's everybody's kids. We have some sort of Marxist, communist, fascist-ist. Has anybody ever read the book 1984? And Vicky's looking at me like, stop.
Yes.
Read the book.
I've got a sticker on my car that says, let's make Orwell's 1984 fiction.
So you see any parallels? Obviously.
Yes.
That's the deal. These people have read the playbook, and guess who wins? I mean, when these quote-unquote migrants come across the border, they're going to be looking for jobs. And they're going to do jobs that minorities won't do because we've gotten lazy as Americans.
First they're looking for handouts, then
Well, I can tell you, and I'm going to shut up after this. One of these days I'm going to tell you about this book. One of these days. But bottom line is that we've just got to understand that our 1%, the people that run everything, the people that you don't see, they don't like us anymore. And Bill Gates, I can show you a TED Talk where he's talking about depopulation. So if he's depopulating the world, he's fighting on it, who does he talk to? And who's he talking about? He's talking about us. So I say, fight it. Fight it with everything you got. One of these days, I'm gonna follow one of these speeches I write out. Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me. Vicki, thank you so much.
I'm sorry, one last question. This is the last question.
I'm gonna make a statement that I thoroughly believe that Bill Gates is the Antichrist.
What'd you say?
Bill Gates is the Antichrist.
I hate to get religious on you, but I'd shoot him on sight, go to jail. Now I can't use that reel on recording, and happily do it.
My second statement, or John, is that, or actually two, that, not a real doctor, Dr. Joe Biden, I believe should be charged with, elder abuse.
You know, I saw Mr. Biden speak the other day. Did you see just his last speech? He was up on stage and he went to the wrong place.
I mean, I'm working in here, I know what dementia looks like,
Yeah.
different stages.
He's not running to go. He's not even close. I can tell you, he gets his ice cream every day at 2 o'clock, and I can verify that.
His elevator involves.
We are a ship that is adrift. And we've got to
They're in the
reclaim,
slave trade. They are in the slave trade right now.
we got to reclaim this country, and we got to do it now. And if we don't, we're going to be lost. I don't want to just spread boom and doom, but I kind of like it here. And I'm not that whole slave thing. My ancestors fought to make sure I didn't have to be a slave again. Oh, by the way, thanks to your girl Hillary Clinton, you can buy somebody that looks like me for $400. Did you know that? Right now.
But all of those
Libya.
are not even the kids that are now somewhere wandering around in whatever. I mean. that's-
Slavery is still alive. We call it, children, when they abuse these children, they're bringing them from all over the world, right here. They're making lots of money, and we are, just happy,
And whose
middle-class
jobs are they
people.
taking away?
I didn't hear a word you said.
Whose jobs are they taking away?
Exactly. So here's the thing. One last thing, if I may leave you with this. There's an old saying. My boss used to tell me, he used to fly jets and land them on aircraft carriers. And I was his deputy down at this classified place that we don't talk about anymore. But he used to say, Berney, perfect is the enemy of good enough. Now, how does that apply to you? If you can get somebody to agree with you at the 80% level to vote for what you believe in, they don't have to be at 100%, 80% will do. Let's get that, take it, and run with it. And that's what we should be striving for. Not putting lawsuits on each other, not calling each other out in the street and having fist fights, just simply an 80% solution. And if we do that, we can make some noise. We can win some elections. That's what I see.
Okay, thank you, Berney. Let's go brand Montgomery flag. What are you gonna be over there?
I'll be right over there, that big old